that period from 1960 until now, we have a very, very rapid growth and sophistication. If we compare the kind of contracts that we have in the 60s and now, we will find that a lot of things have been growing, and a lot of PhD thesis has been written on the topic, and hence so many different contracts has been introduced to the market. Let me just give you an example. In a university in Mecca called Al-Qura University, they started this al-murabaha lil-amir bil-shira, that you can make a murabaha, that a bank, that a finance house can make a murabaha if a customer will come and order the bank to buy that specific products, and they have to sign a contract and do the business together. So we are now getting to a more area where people are very much interested, and everybody will be benefited in all parts. We all know that in the West, generally speaking, religion and ethics are loosely overlapped. In Islamic Sharia, we all know that it is very important that you have the ethical and the belief in the market forces and in the belief in the working of the different variables, so it will be accepted. Sharia is the body of Islamic principles with respect to life activities. The Sharia in the Muslim world is derived from the three sources that we all know. The Quran, which is the revelations of God. The Sunnah, which is the authenticated actions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And finally, the fiqh, which is the allocation of the interpretation, ruling, and rules that based on the Quran and Sunnah. Now we will introduce a new concept. This concept is related to a Sharia board. The Sharia board. What is the Sharia board? We always read in the news that there is the Sharia board have to accept or reject that contract. What is a Sharia board? A Sharia board is a concept that every bank, every Islamic bank, have to make a committee that is consists of 4 or 5 or 6, 7 scholars who are well educated in religion, well educated in the transactions, and they can apply the rules purely and finally to set up a new contract. So a committee of Muslim scholars, they work as a group to ensure that an undertaking is Islamically acceptable. That undertaking Islamically acceptable. They don't want to do something, a contract, and if suddenly everybody will reject it. So they will have maybe 1 or 2 economists. They will have 3 or 4 the Sharia, and then they will discuss the issue. And once everybody is accepted, they will take that contract or that undertaking and try to discuss it with another more supporting groups until finally they have something in hand and they can approve it and be utilized in the market, and then a new product will come in the market. Once they have agreed, they have to issue a fatwa. What is a fatwa? This word means that it is to say that this group of scholars have discussed this economic contract very thoroughly, and they have reached a decision that it is actually according to the Quran and Sunnah and the ijtihad of the ulama, or the agreement between all the ulamas or all the scholars. So the person who will go and start applying that product, he will have no problem, because he is not as learned as this group is, and he will not have any problem with himself or with somebody else, because all he can say that this is not my opinion. The Sharia board in that bank accepted this contract, and I'm just following their acceptance. So the Sharia board provides a continuing oversight, means that it is not enough for them to produce that fatwa, but they have to go and make sure that the application is very much similar to what they have approved upon. Where is the problems comes? The problems comes when they start application. The people who will deal with the customer might not know that much in Sharia and religion, and maybe he will just apply whatever rules he think he understood to that contract. This is not right. Some of those fatwa people will go and make sure that he's actually applying what they have signed and what they have agreed upon, which is very, very important. And now, as all of you knows, there are different conflicting fatwas, because in Sharia we have different schools, and this is a problem that we have to face, and the best way has been found that all of these fatwas will have a general committee, a general board, and once all the different fatwas and the Sharia board have accepted it, then it will go to the market, and then it will be applicable. We found that agreement far outweighs the disagreement, and if there is a disagreement, it is very minor, in very small things, which is a very good news. They say that, and I am very careful in this, they say that Malaysian tends to be more liberal Western than the Middle East. This is because this is the Sharia. This is the beautiful of Sharia, that it is not very harsh, we have different opinions, we have different school of thoughts, which is very, very acceptable, and as a matter of fact, I think it is an advantage. It is not a disadvantage. It is an advantage, and everybody will try to work it out, and we will see at the end of the day which is more acceptable and which will be more critical, and from that we will correct our mistakes. One of the things you should be very important is that you must know, if you want to study Islamic finance, what is riba. The word riba means extra or excess of. The word riba itself means extra. For example, if you borrow some money from me, like maybe $100 or 100 euros, and we agreed that you will pay it back to me at the end of the month or at the end of the year, you will pay me 105. So this extra $5 or 5 euros is the value because I gave you the loan and you will pay me back. This is not acceptable in Sharia. This is something that we have been forbidden to do. Riba, we have two kinds of riba. We have something called riba al-fadl, and we have something called riba al-nasi'ah. We are getting a little bit deep now inside. The difference between riba al-fadl and riba al-nasi'ah. Riba al-nasi'ah, that if it is, for example, if you promise me that you give me the 105 at the end of the month, but you came at the end of the month, we say, sorry, I cannot pay you now, I don't have enough resources. I say, okay, how much you need? Is it, give me another month. Then I will say, okay, you will pay me now 108 because you have extended the time. This is also unacceptable, whether it is riba and nasi'a. The word nasi'a means delay. The riba or the extra because of the delay. The greatest practical difference from Western finance is that we don't allow in Sharia, in Islam, we don't allow the interest rate concept to play a dominant role in our life. We don't accept it to play any role, not only a dominant role at all, any role at all. Widely misunderstood is the riba is the prohibition of interest on money. Actually, it is not only in money. In money, it is one part only. But if you borrow anything from me and you want me to return it back to me in a different time, and I made it a conditional that you must give me more, this is also regarded as riba. As long as it is the same thing. But if you borrow from me some kind of fruits and you will return to me a different kind of things, there is no riba because there is a different concept now. Underlying concept, money has no in value or intrinsic value in it itself. It is only a measure. What I'm saying is the concept that we all know, they have read before so many times, they call money makes money. This is not acceptable in Islam. This is not acceptable Islamic financing. It was weird for us. Money have different concept. Money could be used to measure the value. Money could be used to hoard the money so in the future I can use it or utilize it for something else. But it is money is not in itself cannot, money makes money. We cannot accept that concept. Since money has no intrinsic value, there should be no charge or no interest for its use. This is a very important thing we should make very clear. Riba is interest on money only. Riba does not preclude a rate of return on investment. Islamic finance is sometimes said to be asset-based instead of currency-based. This is something that I would like to stress upon. It is very important to distinguish now between what is Islamic finance and what is traditional finance, Western finance. Islamic finance, one of its most important characteristics that Islamic finance is said to be asset-based instead of currency-based, meaning that if you are doing a contract, there must be an actual product there. And I will give you an example of that in a few seconds. i.e. an investment is structured in ownership, in exchange of assets. Money is just a payment mechanism. Money is just a payment mechanism here. I will give you, to elaborate on this, I will give you an example. For example, if you go to any bank and you want to buy a house, for example, or you want to buy a car, or you want to buy a piece of land, the bank gives you the money, you go and buy that house, and then you pay the amount of money that you have borrowed plus the interest rate on it. A numerical example will be if you want to buy a house on a mortgage, and then you need 100,000 euros, and they will tell you, the bank will tell you that will charge you 5%. At the end of the period, you have to pay 105,000 euros at the end of the period, whether it is in one payment or whether it is in installments. But at the end of the period that you have agreed with your bank, you have to pay this extra, and this is what is they do in the Western banks. In Islamic banks, it is something different. He will go with you as a partner. He will will make a musharaka. Musharaka means that we are participating together, that we are putting our hands, your hand plus your bank hand together, and you will go in that business. And if the business succeeded, you both will have the benefits. You will hope both will share the profits. If that business goes down, we both will have the risk. But the